The Bullet Club are the focal point of the main events for AEW Dynamite and NXT. We talk about that and review the shows next on the Squared Circle Psycho Babble. My name is Michael Valenti. Joining me is Ralph Valenti. Ralph, 2 title retentions, Kenny Omega and Finn Balor. But I think a lot of people are talking about this reunion to close out AEW Dynamite as Luke Gallows and Karl Anderson show up. They beat down Jon Moxley as well as other various baby faces. And the closing shot is the Too Sweet sign with all the members of the former Bullet Club members. What do you make of this? I thought both main events were pretty good. Your thoughts?
Well, not only were both main events very good, both shows were very good to start everything off. So I thought both shows certainly delivered. I think that the end of Dynamite was certainly newsworthy. I wouldn't say it was necessarily shocking because I think most fans who have been paying attention to this kind of felt like this was something that was going to happen.
Right.
The element of surprise that I think most people didn't necessarily predict was the fact that the Young Bucks were going to what seems to be siding with Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. This continues to open the door for partnerships between, other promotions and AEW. And who knows where they go with this, but definitely a newsworthy happening that happened last night.
Yeah, it really was. And I think obviously what helps is the fact that we had 2 very good main events here. The fact that you have Kenny Omega retaining against Rey Fenix, Finn Balor retaining against Kyle O'Reilly. To talk about, the Bullet Club moment at the end, I think I agree with you 100%. I think a lot of people were expecting the Good Brothers and Kenny as they've been already formulating this on Impact Wrestling. But now that the Young Bucks are part of it, that's certainly interesting. And where does it go? Because there was a little hint of why you guys here, but then they eventually join at the end. So perhaps they're not quite in all the way, but only time will tell. It's a great way to get these 2 promotions really going. And obviously this, I think, will benefit both companies in the end. But let's talk about the matches themselves that closed out the show. Both, like I said, were very good. I think they were very good in their own ways. Kenny Omega and Rey Fenix, I thought, were great athletic performances where you got all these flips and dives and spots, and Rey Fenix doing a flip into a German suplex. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good stuff. The reversal of the One-Wing Angel to a Hurricanrana. Rey Fenix definitely showed that if they give him a main event spot, he could deliver. Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly, I think, obviously, people were excited for this as they already had a great match at TakeOver 31. I think they re-delivered in this match. Would I say it's the same level as TakeOver 31? Personally, no, but I know some people are saying it was better. That's personal preference. But at the end of the day, which main event did you like better?
Oh, man, this is tough because, like you said, first of all, they're 2 very different matches. One was more notable for its acrobatics or just the aerial stuff that went on in the match. The other one was just a really gritty, in-your-face, traditional kind of wrestling match. Usually I prefer the grittier type of chain wrestling like you saw in NXT with Balor and O'Reilly.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Omega and Phoenix had the better match. Not by much, just because I felt like it had more of those oh shit moments without being overly choreographed. That was the one thing that I noticed a lot. And the one thing that really stood out to me is Kenny Omega is certainly coming into his own. I think that a lot of people, including myself, were critical of him for his initial run in AEW, and maybe for some of those things that people said about him, rightfully so. He is really coming into his own with this cleaner 2.0, if you want to call it that.
Right.
Just even by the way, like simple things like the facials when he comes out, the sense of confidence that he has, and him alongside Don Callis, it's really starting to work. That on top of the fact that he is now starting to deliver those matches that a lot of people knew he was always capable of delivering. I think the hard thing for Kenny was when AEW was formed, he was coming off the tail end of his career in New Japan Pro Wrestling, where it was no matter who he was with, Ibushi, Tanahashi, Okada, that was the expectation for every Kenny Omega match. Now, coming into AEW, where some guys certainly aren't at the level of some of those guys in New Japan, you can't deliver that every single night. But when you're in there with a guy like a Rey Fenix, he can deliver. That match last night was very good. Maybe the best match in Dynamite history, some people are saying. Probably the best match that I've seen out of Kenny Omega on Dynamite. His match with Laredo Kid was also very good. So those two would probably be the best since he's left New Japan, in my opinion. I thought the match last night was great. And I think that, to me, the Kenny Omega and Rey Fenix match was the match of the night for me.
So you think Kenny and Rey Fenix was the match of the night? Because I thought there were some great wrestling matches last night.
There was,
but I'm going to disagree with you on what I thought the match of the night was. Now, granted, if you thought it was Balor and O'Reilly, I could see your point. If you think it's Rey Fenix and Kenny Omega, I also see your point. But I think the match that stole the night was Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez in their last woman standing match. That match was, they beat the hell out of each other. They were creative in how they did their spots. Like you said with Rey Fenix and Kenny Omega, it wasn't super choreographed. They used Dakota Kai in a way where it didn't really affect the finish, but Rhea Ripley was able to fight her off and throw her in a locker. And according to Twitter, she's still in that locker, hasn't been taken out yet. But, I thought the match was very good and it did the job. I think Rhea Ripley did a fantastic job. If this ends up being her final match in NXT, elevating Raquel Gonzalez in a much needed win. And Raquel Gonzalez, I don't know if anybody's talking about her yet to what status she is in the women's division, but she is doing a fantastic job. And I think she has done great things in the ring the last few months.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly was a fan of that match. That was another hard-hitting match, especially considering, I think that the stereotypical, divas that we kind of were accustomed to growing up during the Attitude Era, that type of professional wrestling from women is long gone. Exactly. Right here, what you saw from these two, but first of all, both of Rhea Ripley, great in the ring. She's proven it time and time again. Gonzalez, we still have to see a little bit from her. I think this match was a good way to showcase her dominance in, I guess, what you can almost call a clean win, because like you said, Dakota Kai didn't really influence the outcome of it that much, but she still looked strong. And that was probably one of the more important and impressive things. I think from here, Rhea Ripley's got to be going to the main roster because they haven't been pushing her as strong. She really hasn't gotten her feet back underneath herself since that loss to Charlotte Flair. She's been kind of up and down, trading wins and losses to other people. And I think now what they're doing is positioning Raquel Gonzalez to now be the new Rhea Ripley. They could always revisit this feud if Gonzalez goes up to the main roster at some point.
Exactly.
So you elevate one and you close the door on another. I think Rhea's got it. She's got it. She's got to be going up to the main roster. Her and I think Damian Priest has to be going up relatively soon too.
Well, that's the report. Now, I know PW Insider is reporting that Rhea Ripley is going to the main roster. That is her final match in NXT. There were reports last week from Fightful.com and also WrestleVotes saying that Damian Priest was actually supposed to debut on SmackDown last Friday to save Kevin Owens, and for some reason it got nixed. I'm seeing reports that it could have been Roman Reigns' influence or Kevin Owens saying that there was no reason to incorporate him into the storyline. I don't know if that's true or not, but I also think Damian Priest is leaving and heading to the main roster. And I think he's done enough where I don't think he really could do much other than have an NXT championship run. But I think he has a very promising future. And Rhea Ripley, I think, definitely has a promising future. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do a storyline with Rhea where she either wins the Royal Rumble or becomes a big part of the Royal Rumble, then gets in the title picture with Charlotte Flair and Asuka, because both Asuka and Rhea have WrestleMania losses to avenge. So you could end up being a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania.
So you mean to tell me Kevin Owens supposedly has one friend in the back there? So he's not a total geek as some insiders and some journalists would insist. He's not a total geek.
Well, that was the story that they were going to have, is Damian Priest was going to be his best friend, but then Kevin Owens himself backstage was like, it makes no sense because we have nothing in common. We'd never interacted with each other. Why would he all of a sudden be my best friend? So in kayfabe, it would have worked. In real life, Kevin Owens is like, nope, not going to work, pal. And eventually got to Roman, and Roman used his power. That's apparently the story. But
hell knows.
So you think that both Damian and Rhea are on their way out?
Rhea, I'm almost certain of. Damian, maybe another match with Karrion Kross. I don't know. I think we're kind of going to move on to Karrion Kross and Finn Balor. That's where I think the direction they're going to have to go because Karrion Kross never lost the title. So, that's where I think they're heading with all of this.
Yeah, I will say though, if it ends up being Damian Priest's last match, I think it was a little underwhelming. If I had to pick an underwhelming moment of the night, it was probably that. And that is just simply because you have this big match, no commercial breaks. And honestly, I decided to watch Priest and Kross over the 8-man tag last night first because I was more excited for it. And while it was still a good match, it had a good story, I felt like it just didn't quite get to that, yes, I'm loving this match moment.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't get the sense that I was watching anything that I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was good, but I certainly had higher expectations for that. But we've talked about this before. Sometimes when you get two big guys with similar styles, doesn't make for a good matchup. But when you have guys opposing sizes, it maybe tells a little bit of a better story. Karrion Kross didn't have the best match with Keith Lee. This match wasn't the best, but I think that if him and Finn Balor have a match because of the size difference, because of the difference of approach in technical ability, I think that would make for a really good match.
Right. Now, on the other side, on AEW, we did have this similar match, Wardlow versus Jake Hager, and I got to admit, it was a surprise. I thought the match was very, very good. I mean, it wasn't exactly the match of the night because you had so many great matches, but on an average Dynamite, it might have been a match of the night. Like, I was not expecting Hager and Wardlow to be like a great match. And there they come, and like such good chemistry between the two. And Wardlow really shined in the win himself. So that was a surprise to me. Great match.
That was definitely a surprise. And I think it's definitely good to see that Wardlow is capable of delivering a match like that. I mean, we've seen Hager in the WWE in some high-profile matches. He certainly had his high-profile match against Moxley, but he hasn't seen many pro wrestling matches since returning from WWE. So at least now we can say that, okay, well, he's still got some gas left in the tank there, and I wouldn't expect anything different. I mean, he's a professional MMA fighter as well, so he keeps himself in shape. But pro wrestling and psychology and storytelling, that's not the easiest thing go out there and do. Both Batista was very good in his, well, most people would say he was very good in his prime. He came back and he wrestled Triple H. It was an okay match. So it's not easy to come back from that long, having that much time off and get the psychological part of it. Wardlow, at least we see that he's capable of delivering in the ring, which is good because he's young. He's one of the bigger guys. I think he's got a good look, and I think that he's got a bright future ahead of him, no matter where he goes.
I agree. Now, I mentioned my underwhelming and surprising moments of the night. Do you have any underwhelming and surprising moments of the night?
I can give you an underwhelming moment. So
I'm afraid of this. Here we go.
Okay, here we go. Now if people don't want to get upset and people want to be pampered and not told, I told you so, now's the time to either mute or fast forward about 5 minutes because I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here.
Or comment because people are going to comment in the comment section. I'd rather have that than tell them to shut off.
This is the point where you start to tell me that I'm being negative again, like you guys did about 4 weeks ago. Because 4 weeks ago, I pretty much told everybody this is what's going to happen with Sting. These were the facts 4 weeks ago. These are the facts today. The guy is 61, 62 years old. He's got a hurt neck. He's not going to wrestle every night. How are they going to keep Sting fresh? How are they going to make it where people want to tune in every single week to see Sting? Because we certainly saw that people tuned in for a couple of weeks to see him because he came back, he made his big return, he was going to talk. Great. Since then, he has done the same exact thing every single week. And to make matters worse, there's this. Everybody got on our case in our last video because we were told we were wrong about how we were saying that WWE uses nostalgia different than AEW. That's what everybody was saying. Sting is there to elevate young talent. How is he elevating young talent when for 3 weeks now he has caused Team Taz to cower to the back when he's a 61-year-old man with a baseball bat and there's guys like Will Hobbs, Taz,
Brian Cage,
Brian Cage, the whole group, 6 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys, however many it is, all of them retreating to the back 3 weeks in a row now from this one man with a baseball bat. Mind you, it's not even like a sneak attack. His music hits. There's freaking snow falling throughout the whole arena. So this guy is coming. And they're cowering away. Now, unless this is a giant swerve and Sting is somehow within Team Taz, I am sorry. It is time to do something different with Sting. Now, what that is, I don't know because I don't work for AEW and maybe they have something up their sleeve. So we'll see what they do with Sting next week. But I told you guys 4 weeks ago this was going to happen. There's only so much you're going to be able to do with Sting. The nostalgia and the buzz and all of that, it's gone. It's worn off. It is time to do something different, to present something different so the fans can get invested in Sting. He has to do more than come out every single week and just point his baseball bat. I mean, is that really entertaining to people? Is that using nostalgia correctly in comparison to what WWE does? Maybe to some fans, not to me. I'm not interested in Sting just coming out every week, pointing a baseball bat at 6 guys and watching them cower away. I go back to that word geeks because that is one of the things that a popular journalist talks about when talking about faces in WWE. The 6 guys in Team Taz, or however many guys it is, they look like geeks when they cower away from him every single week. If you know Sting's going to come out to save Darby Allin with a baseball bat, prepare for, like, why are you guys not prepared for that? And it's, I don't know. That's my opinion on it. Underwhelming. It's time to move on past Sting doing nothing and pointing a baseball bat at people.
Right. Well, I'll agree that they've been very repetitive with this Sting thing and Darby and Taz, Team Taz cowering away for the last 4 weeks. I know people are going to say there's this long story arc that hasn't been told yet. And I just want the next chapter of that story to be told. Yes, it's a long story, but we're still on page 1. When are we going to turn the page and see the next sentence of this big story? You know, I think where it eventually is going to go is Darby's going to get fed up with Sting coming in for the save all the time. And Darby's like, dude, I don't need you. Like, don't come here. I appreciate the help, but I don't need you. At least that's where I think this is going. And I understand people are going to be like, well, Sting is 61. He can't take bumps. He's got the neck problem. He's not there to wrestle. I understand that. And that's probably why they're writing it the way they are, which is fine.
Safe.
And it's safe. And that's why in WWE, those same spots happen where, the legends look strong in the end because most of those guys are too old to take bumps. So they're not going to take these big bumps like WWE fans want them to. And I don't want this to be like a AEW versus WWE comparison show because we just spent 20 minutes a couple nights ago doing that. I'm just talking about this story with Sting, Darby, and Team Taz. It's getting repetitive. I'd like to see more, and I'm starting to see people on social media say the same thing. So I hope we're not being on the minority of this. Like some people in the comment section will actually say, yes, I like Sting, but they need to do something different. And if you're still defending it, I don't know. Like, what are we missing at this point? What is the but Ralph, but Michael, you don't get it moment? Like, what are we missing?
Here's the thing. I mean, these are the facts as we present them right now. Sting is 61 or 62, however old he is. He has a neck injury. He's not going to wrestle as far as we know. He may wrestle some more cinematic matches. He's limited in what they're going to be able to do with him. Right. I said that 4 weeks ago when everybody told me, "Oh, you're being negative. That's you're looking at it wrong. You're wrong." Okay, well, we're 4 weeks in and we haven't seen anything different from it. I don't know what to say. There's only so much they're going to be able to do with Sting. Now that the buzz has died down, they're going to have to get creative. I said that. They're going to have to be creative with him because, first of all, Sting has never been known for being a strong promo. He's good at it. He's not bad. He's not the worst. But when Sting drew the most, he literally just showed up, dropped from the rafters, and didn't say a damn word.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. There's only so much they're going to be able to do with Sting. Those are the facts. The guy's older. He's limited. So I don't think we're missing anything. That's the truth.
Yeah. Well, who knows? But what about surprises? Let's bring it back on the positive side, Ralph. Was there something on either show you found that was a pleasant surprise?
Well, the surprise, honestly, I did not expect Rhea Ripley to lose the way she did. And granted, I thought Dakota Kai getting involved, I wouldn't necessarily say it was done to influence the outcome. I was very surprised that Rhea Ripley lost. I thought that if she was going to go to the main roster, they'd want to give her some type of momentum, just because she has been losing so much and not even, losing the prominent people. Like Raquel Gonzalez is somebody who's on her way up. She's not somebody who's established. So if there's one thing that surprised me, it was the way Rhea Ripley lost, especially if she's going to be going up to the main roster.
Yeah, I mean, it is a surprise, but at the end of the day, I've always been a proponent of if you're gonna go out, you go out with your shoulders on the mat. Yes, it was a last woman standing match, so I guess you have your shoulders to wherever you are not standing. So I'm not worried about her losing any momentum heading to the main roster. Those that know Rhea Ripley heading to the main roster know what she could do, and there's going to be support for her regardless. I know her since WrestleMania last year, she hasn't been the same, but maybe that's all storyline, and she's going to use that in the main roster to help levitate her against a feud back with Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, or even against Asuka. Who knows? But
Maybe they're trying to do the reverse effect here from what normally happens. Usually somebody does really well in NXT, and when they go to the main roster, they are misused terribly, and their career is essentially destroyed. Maybe they are booking her terribly deliberately, so that way when she goes to the roster, somehow it will be like an inverse effect.
I don't see any tinfoil on your head, but I feel like there's an invisible tinfoil hat on there for that conspiracy theory. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're onto something.
If you wanted a conspiracy theory, I'd tell you if AEW wants to draw more viewers in, they'd put Sting and Orange Cassidy in the ring at the same time. Because those are both the guys that are supposed to be their top draws that I've been wrong about forever.
Yes, I know. But at the end of this all, Ralph, what was the better show, AEW Dynamite or NXT?
Again, very difficult. I thought they were both really good shows. I am going to lean towards Dynamite because I think the ending, I always say this, Dynamite always or typically will have that one big event or one big moment that keeps people talking. If it's not Sting during his debut, it's the Kenny Omega thing. I think Gallows and Anderson showing up last night was a really big moment for professional wrestling because I think that's going to get a lot of buzz and a lot of attention. Kenny and Ray Phoenix was a very good match. Some of the other matches were very solid throughout. Some more storyline progression with, you saw the storyline progression with MJF and Hager. So who knows what's going to happen with the Inner Circle. I think Dynamite overall had the better show.
You know what? Both shows were very good. And like I said, there were some really good surprises, some things that were underwhelming on both shows. I think some of the surprises include on NXT, you have the Xia Li re-debut that I think was very well done, especially with this month of building and no one really knew what was going on. I think that was great execution. I think to some extent, all the big matches delivered. Disappointed that we didn't get the fight pit. On AEW Dynamite, there was the big surprise I don't think anybody's talking about, and that is the Young Bucks actually had a tag team match without Rick Knox as the referee, and I thought the tag match was actually good because they were enforcing tag team rules. Now, a little bit at the end got a little chaotic, but I thought the Acclaimed and the Hybrid 2 looked very, very good, and they set up good hot tag segments there. Like we talked about, Wardlow and Hager was very good. Underwhelming, I think, unfortunately, was the Abaddon Hikaru Shida Women's Championship match. Snoop Dogg with his frog splash, if you want to call it that.
Oh, God.
Not exactly the same as her cousin Sasha Banks' frog splash, but still, it was fun. It was fun for what it did. And you're going to say something, Ralph?
I was going to ask you, what do you make of the Acclaimed name-dropping John Cena like that?
I didn't mind it.
I didn't mind it at all. I just thought, even Jericho pointed out in commentary, he paused for a moment and he was like, I don't know if they can use any of those names, but he did, and I didn't have a problem with it.
Does WWE have the trademark Jannetty? Do they even want it at this point? Like, I don't know.
Come on, man. You grew up on the Rockers. Isn't that your favorite tag team of all time?
No. I don't know. I honestly never really had a favorant tag team.
Shawn Michaels is your favorite wrestler.
He is. He is my favorite wrestler.
You can't have a Shawn Michaels without Jannetty getting thrown through the glass of the barbershop. So
we're actually approaching the anniversary of that, believe it or not. I think
one of the best heel turns of all time.
It is.
I knew he was going to do that. I just knew he was going to do that.
It was a great moment in wrestling history. But yeah, I thought that was very good. And I love the shirts where they were saying, your rap is crap. I don't know if you caught on to that.
Did not.
Did not. Well, watch it again, you'll see it. It's on like a vinyl record. It says your rap is crap. All 4 guys, SCU and Young Bucks, were wearing it. But I thought all the matches were good last night. Even Santos Escobar and Grand Metalik was still a decent match. Matt Sydal and Cody Rhodes was still a good match. But if I had to pick which show was better, if NXT only had Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea and Finn and O'Reilly, I think NXT wins. But for the overall 2 hours, I go with AEW Dynamite as well. They just had a better overall 2 hours. I think the lasting impression definitely is more noteworthy. But at the end of the day, Wednesday nights seems to be the night for professional wrestling, and they're off to a great start here in 2021, in my opinion.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Obviously. So, all right. So as Ralph mentioned, we talked about Goldberg, Sting. Are they the same thing? We did have a discussion on that. We also had a discussion on why the audience is not growing in professional wrestling today. We have thumbnails for each of those on the screen right now. You can click on those. Don't forget to share us all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPB Podcast. And we'll talk to you on the next episode of the Squared Circle Psychobabble.